Hello, and welcome back to episode 8 of the Growing Our Future in Weakley County Schools podcast. This podcast is a production of Weakley County Schools in partnership with Forever Communications and sponsored by the Sonics of Weakley County. I'm Megan Jolly, Communications Director of Weakley County Schools, and I'm so excited for today's episode. In honor of School Board Appreciation Month, we have gotten our school board members together, and we have a great episode for you that really pulls back the curtain on what goes on behind the scenes of these essential pieces of our leadership in our school system. Join us as we explore the roles, responsibilities, and impact of these leaders. Whether you're a student, a teacher, a community member, a parent, this is a great episode for you to tune into. Let's go. Okay, so first, I would just like to really thank y'all for being here. I know you all have tons of responsibilities, jobs, things like that, and we appreciate you taking the time to just be here and help us pull back the curtain a little bit on what all you do and all of the roles and responsibilities that you guys take on. So first, if you wanted to just go around and let us know who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been with the school board, things like that, to let our listeners get to know you a little bit.
My name's John Hadler from Martin, represent District 8. I was born and raised outside of Dallas, Texas, but moved here in 1993 and went to school at UT Martin and was elected to the school board in 2014. So this is year number 11 for me.
Perfect.
Great. I'm Steve Antreese. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee, but I've been here for about 70 years, so I'm sort of calling it home now. I represent District 6, and I've been on the school board since 2000. And went to school here in Martin, just stayed here afterwards.
I'm Wendell Cates. I'm the rookie of the bunch. I was really appointed to the school board in 2021 when we had a lady that moved out of her district. I'm in District 5 in Martin. I mostly have Martin primary and elementary, that area, southeast. Okay. I grew up in Memphis, graduated from UT Martin in 74 and got transferred back here. So married a girl from Nashville, met in college, and all three of my kids have graduated from Martin Schools, Westview. So that's about it.
Awesome.
I'm Josh Moore, and I'm from Dresden originally, went to Dresden High School, graduated 26 years ago. Crazy. I still live here in Dresden, represent Dresden on the school board, District 9, which is basically the city limits, a little bit outside. And I was appointed in 2017 and I've served ever since. So it's about seven and a half years now.
Okay.
Well, I graduated 54 years ago.
Okay.
So, Josh, for you, can you explain your role a little bit as the chair of the board?
Well, first of all, I want to give props to this guy over here. He was chair before me. Steve's spent a lot of time. Most of the time I was on the board, he's 7 years as the chairman, and just recently stepped down from that. So I took over about a year and a half ago, and it's been a fun transition to that. And served vice chair before that. And so as chairman, basically what I do as chairman is preside over the meetings, and I work with Director Couples as kind of part of an executive committee. So we just try to bounce ideas off each other to present to the board at that time. So
okay. So as like you said, an executive committee, when there's several of y'all, so when you're looking at making decisions that, obviously everybody's not going to agree all the time. So what is y'all's process on decision making?
Well, a lot of folks, I think, in the county might be a little bit misunderstanding is what our scope of authority might be.
Yes, tell us about that.
A lot of folks might think the school board does all the decisions, but that's not necessarily the case. Our main responsibility is to hire the superintendent or the director of schools. So back in 2023, we went through that process, and Director Couples was hired through that process by the end of March of 2023. The second major thing that we do is that we're a policy making body. So we make the policy and supervise the policy and vote on that. And then the third thing we do is we serve as a liaison between the community and the school system. So we really want to make sure that the community knows that if you have an issue with our schools,
Mhm.
we want you talking to us so that we can kind of be that first point of contact, and then we can get the answers from the director of schools, for principals, and we want to be that community contact for our community and county.
Absolutely. And I think that that bridge is so important from our community to know that we have such good people that are representing each of these districts to make sure that they're heard, make sure their kids are being taught well. You guys do an amazing job of that.
And we don't want you to be going on Facebook first. Contact us first and
Yes.
not go on Facebook first.
As a personal message from the
Personal-
school board,
personal
please
message, please.
contact us first. Yes, absolutely. And if you're looking how to contact you,
You
How
can go,
should-
you can go on the website. We have our contact information. There's a school board
Yes.
tab,
Mhm.
and you can click on that. And you see our lovely faces with our cell phones.
lovely faces.
Yeah.
And so for each of you guys, I just have some questions. What district, for the district that you represent, what are some things you think that they do well in their schools?
Being in, and I won't necessarily speak for just Martin, but
Sure.
really the entire county, although Martin is Martin, part of Dresden is my district.
Yeah.
I would say that we do a very, very good job of educating all of our children.
Mhm.
We've seen that with our state accolades that have come down here recently.
Absolutely.
Each community has their own needs, and each community is allowed to kind of figure out what they need to do to best serve their students. And so I would most definitely say, not just in Martin, but throughout the entire county, that each one of our buildings does an excellent job of educating the whole child and the entire student body.
I could not agree more. And for you, and if you would like to speak to the district as a whole too, that's great too. Like you did, that's wonderful.
Well, that's one of the things that people need to understand about the school board is we have our districts we represent,
Mm-hmm.
but we are responsible for the whole system. And
Absolutely.
there's a lot of people interested in our schools, but most of them are interested in their school. So to serve on the board, you've got to have a really good feel for what's good for the system.
Mm-hmm. As a whole.
And then as a system, we do an excellent job of educating our young people in this county. We do a great job and do a better job as we go along because we don't get to pick the students that come to us. We have to take them who they are, where they are, how they are. And we need to advance every child. Some are more talented than others have issues they have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But we do a good job of educating the whole child. Now, based upon their abilities, they may move on in different directions, advanced courses or things like that. But we have that option through our schools, all of our schools.
Mm-hmm.
So I think our kids can go, can and have gone anywhere they want to in life, from the greatest jobs to. And I'm really glad our students come back as teachers as well.
Yes.
Because they can help perpetuate that. So
I think that that's one thing that our county does well.
Right.
Is the people that are from here and grow up here, they have a loyalty
mm-hmm.
to this county, and they come back, they tie
Right.
back to this county.
Right.
I think that you're so right on that.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
Having been raised in Memphis, our big city, I really enjoy the environment here in Weakley County, especially Martin,
Mhm.
where I live. Only thing I would add what these two guys said, I think our school board, along with Director Couples, does a great job in being a liaison between the Department of Education, Tennessee and Washington, and our Tennessee School Board Association. With all this negative stuff you hear about school boards,
Mhm.
I think our school board is. I've talked to other school board members; they don't get along
Mhm.
outside the
Mhm.
state, or even in other counties that are close to us. So I think we have a great school board on the direction and leadership of Mr. Couples and Josh.
Mhm.
And Steve is, those big shoes to fill.
That's
I
right,
think Josh is
100%.
doing a great job. So that's the only thing I would like to add to that.
Absolutely. I think that the positive culture just kind of pours throughout the
Mhm.
community and throughout the county, and that's huge because we all know how quick it can turn negative,
Mhm.
and we don't need that. Our kids don't need that. Our teachers don't need that. That's wonderful. Yes, sir. What
I'd
about
say
you,
that
Josh?
we are very unified board.
Mhm.
I don't think we've had many contested votes in the where's some wood?
There's some wood in here.
But I think that's one of the main accomplishments that Steve was able to achieve in his tenure over the last few years, and I hope to continue in that stead. And I think that one of the main reasons why we have a unified board is the unique quality of our county that we have. Really, it's unique in West Tennessee that we're one of the few county districts that have 4 high schools that are in the same district and system. We see that not really anywhere else, and that uniqueness with community schooling, the rural, the local aspect of schooling is very important to us, and we, I think, as an entire board collectively, want to maintain that for the foreseeable future.
I think that is really one of the things that works well in our county that as I've kind of come into here and seen all these things and been so impressed by them is, the way that we, as a county do such a good job at highlighting the strengths and playing to them and really, really playing to the strengths of each of these communities.
And I think that's one of the reasons why you've seen us bounce back from COVID so well. We've been highlighted in national media for that reason. And also we just now recently have been awarded as a level 5 district, which is I think something that I'm extremely proud of, and I know we all are. And then we've got some really some reward schools within our system, and that seems like it's an annual feat that some school in our district, all throughout our district, is being recognized at that level. So it's really, we're really proud of that.
Absolutely. I think that is so important. And so when you were deciding to run for school board, what motivated you, or when you accepted, what motivated you to be in that position?
Well, I'll answer that first because I'm the
go ahead.
guy. I was appointed by Larry Taylor and Larry Kelly to fill that position. I think I stayed on it about a year. Then I had to get reelected for that position.
Okay.
And the time I was on there, I really enjoyed how the school system works. I always kind of took for granted how it worked. Then I saw all the policies. I thought, I think I can contribute and try to keep it non-political if possible. So I think so far we've done that. And so I didn't mean to butt in there. But
No, I can agree and relate to this is an easy school system to quickly fall in love with. It is.
Correct.
I understand. I do.
My grandmother, who just recently passed away, was an educator for a while, and one of her mantras was volunteerism is repayment for the air that you breathe. And my wife's a teacher. She's actually just named the middle school teacher of the year for the county.
Absolutely,
My mother-in-law was a teacher. As I mentioned, my grandmother had taught. I have students, I have daughters in the system, and coming from the private sector, one of the things that's always driven me crazy is we're all really, really good as human beings about being problem identifiers instead of problem solvers.
Yes.
And with the change in our country today, just we're moving forward. You have access to information through social media like crazy. I thought it was a good time to maybe try and put what I feel like are problem solving skills and apply it to something that impacts the entire county. Just because you don't have a child in school doesn't mean that education doesn't impact you.
It does.
Because a well-educated community is safer, provides more job opportunities, stimulus for economic growth. And those are things that I'm passionate about because, I live in Weakley County. I live in Martin, and I want to see it thrive, and I want to see my children, if the opportunity is there, because I know they're getting a great education K through 12. They'll get one at UT Martin if they choose to go there, which one of them does. But I want to make sure that there's opportunities for them in Weakley County that if they want to stay, they can. If they don't, that's fine. But I never want to have it exhausted and be pushed out of the door because opportunities aren't here for them to reach their full potential as a human being. So that's really my grandmother's advice and just what I want for my children is why I ran for school.
So you didn't have a choice.
I have a choice. No, I didn't. I didn't have a choice.
You didn't have
That's right.
And I have a granddaughter in the school system.
There you go.
Now, so
See, and I like what you said about, if you live in this community, education affects you.
Mhm.
It affects the jobs that we have. It affects our economy. I mean, it's absolutely. I think that is so important for all of us to realize is even if you don't have children in the school system affects you. I love that.
Okay, I'll go. Well, I decided to run for school board. Actually, I was appointed. So I was after Sarah Ann Pentecost
Okay.
retired from the school board, and she witnessed me growing up, because my mom was a school teacher, and Sarah Ann Pentecost and my mom taught in adjoining classrooms in the old junior high before they moved out to the new middle school in 1997. And so I saw her, pretty much every day, and I thought she was a great educator. And when she retired, I thought, that'd be, I think, a really neat thing to do to serve the community. Since my mom's a teacher, my grandmother was a teacher. My children are in the system. My children's other grandmother was a teacher. They're just completely surrounded, and great grandmother was a teacher. So it just seemed like that was a way in which I could support education here locally. And then when I talked to Miss Sarah Ann, she said, "Well, I've already kind of got somebody else in mind." I was like, "That's fine." And so I thought that the opportunity had passed me on, but then that individual moved on after about a year and a half, and I jumped on it. And I talked to some of the commissioners and said, "Hey, I really like to serve in this way." And so they appointed me. And then if you get appointed, you have to then get elected immediately after that, run for the unexpired term. And so that was a fun experience as well to learn how I didn't realize that when you serve on the school board, you're actually an elected official. That was kind of something I realized, oh, wait, I'm going to have to run for an election.
Campaign now.
And so now I have to be considered a politician like my father. I was a little worried about that, but it all works out. For most of the time that I've been on the school board, we really are kind of an independent, nonpartisan kind of thing. And that's kind of changed a little bit, but I think that has not crept into our school system.
Right.
And we really want to make sure that stays that way. Because even if there might be a letter by our name, we really don't want that to have any bearing on how we operate as a board.
I think that's important. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with, realizing every child, regardless, every child. I think that is a thing that is important to keep forefront. I think you guys do an amazing job of that.
A message from the Sonic Department of Research and Deliciousment.
Did you know your new favorite burger has hand-smashed patties made to order, hot and melty cheese, and a tangy sauce? How rude of me. Let me introduce you. Try the all-new Double Sonic Smasher and at a half-price drink in the app.
Well, I too was appointed when I didn't run until I had to, but I've been I've been involved with schools ever since my kids were in school, pretty much as a parent-teacher organization member, booster club, advisory board, things of that nature. And then I knew 5 of those other previous school board members that were on there. Then my friend, who was one of the members, was a professor at UTM and moved on to another college. So my friends sort of got together and said, "Why don't you take that? Would you take that position?" I said, "Oh yeah, I'm sort of interested in that." I said, "I'll do it till at least my kids graduate, at least to do that." So
10 years later, you're still doing it?
20 years later.
20
years later, I'm still doing it.
How long have you been on the school board, Steve?
2000. So anyway,
it's a long time.
Yeah, it is. I'm old.
Are you the most tenured, or is it Doug?
I'd say probably Gaff.
Yeah, probably
Gas, yes.
So it was a natural progression to try it out, and so far it's stuck.
Seems to be working for you so far. So.
I'm weaning myself off. But Josh came and took over.
Well, after Steve, for some reason, wanted me to be the chairman, he's now the legislative liaison. So he goes to the Hill. He'll be going next month to Nashville to learn what the legislature's up to and plead our case.
I just got the bill filings today. I'll share it with you.
Okay.
3 pages of bills to fix education.
So can you tell us a little bit about that capacity, the legislative liaison part?
Sure. Well, policy making is what we do, but guess who makes all the policies in the state of Tennessee? Mm-hmm. The legislature. And we spend most of our time taking what they do, the work they do, and making it fit Weakley County.
Okay.
And so, as you know, and of course, we're a small system within the state. We're the biggest system in Northwest Tennessee, but you look, you're compared with Nashville, Knoxville, and those places like that. So all these elected officials, legislators have ideas from their people about what would be good for our schools. And so they file these bills that says, well, there's actually a bill filed that says remove all cell phones from all schools. And one says, well, no. And another one says, well, change it this way where, not during school year. So every year there's lots of ways people think we can enhance education. So we among ourselves talk about, what's being discussed in Nashville, and we figure out, well, how will that benefit or hurt our schools? Mm-hmm. And so what I'll do when I go to Nashville, I'll make appointments with our representatives and try to meet some of the people and say, hey, these are the things that we think probably we really don't want to have come into our school system mandated at the state level. So we'll try to talk to them. We'll tell them why we feel that way. We'll probably, in each 141 school systems have people like me. And they're all doing the same thing. So hopefully when we get to Nashville, we have a strong enough voice that the things that we all agree that are not the right things to do don't get forwarded on. So what I do is, in my role with the county, I watch what goes on and then try to work with all of my peer buddies here and say, all right, what are we going to do about that? What do we think about that? And for the most part, we have similar ideas. I said it's important that person has a view of the system, not necessarily their school. Absolutely. So we have to figure out what would work best for us within the county, and how we can influence those decisions in Nashville.
Absolutely. And so would that go back to a little bit where, again, the communication between the community and your board of it's so important to reach out to your board members and tell them, hey, this is how we feel about this, so that we can be sure that you guys are representing, so that goes back to that as well, as just being so sure that you're reaching out to them with these concerns and letting them know how you feel about it.
Yeah, everybody lets you know what they don't like about what's going on, but sometimes you don't hear really what seems to be working.
Yes.
We sort of got our hands in what we think is working well, but sometimes we're don't see the whole thing. And generally what's good for a Martin school is good for a Gleason school or a Greenfield school or a Dresden school. But that's where we work together on this to be sure that we're not so focused, so narrowly focused that we can't help all of our schools.
Absolutely. I think that's something that we do really well. I love that. So now that we've kind of talked about where we've been, as far as your vision, where would you like the vision for education in this community to go?
I'll start. I want Weakley County Schools to be the system that people want
the blueprint
to come here to go to school here. That teachers want to come here to work here. So that way, you talk about the economic development of schools. It's a driving force.
Absolutely.
So if we can get the system that's in place that seems to be the target of people's not desire, but anyway, want to come to school here, I think we've done a great job. And because we need some people to move here in Weakley County. We've been pretty static in our population lately, but I want to be the school system that people point to. And we've done a lot of things like that. We get a lot of good PR. We got a lot of good stories that you and others put out for us. But I want to be the school that people want to come to go to and people want to come to work at.
That has been one thing as I have come into this position that I have loved, is that it's the hardest part about it is there's so many good things. Like, where do you start? There are so many on every level, from administration to teachers to staff to students. I mean, there is so many cool, interesting, fun stories that's happening throughout the county. It's hard to know where to start. So, and I think that we are well on our way to accomplishing that.
Yeah.
I love it.
I want to see our culture continue to improve. It really starts at your building levels. When your building level culture is good, it permeates throughout your community. It permeates throughout the system. You talk about communication. We're constantly amazed at the level of people's conviction on issues with little to no information. And we have to continue to do a good job of getting that information out there. So people, as Steve pointed out, not only it's really easy to identify the bad, right?
Right.
But like you said, we like to hear about the good too. And if something that our people see that they like or would like to see more of, that's important for us to hear.
Absolutely.
And the two things that I would like to see is this culture, which we're doing and getting better every day, but the communication piece too. And it's a two-way communication. Now, the whole adage of God gave us two ears and one mouth for a reason, right? And so we would like to see more communication from not only from us to our communities, but our communities back to us.
That two-way piece.
That's right.
Of being able to be the bridge that you came on this board to be.
I mean, culture and communication for me are the two things I would like to see us continue to improve upon.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's great.
I couldn't agree any more better, I guess.
Any
better than what these two guys said. I think I can speak for Martin. The Martin principals are really good. And I've met the guy, Mr. Lee from Gleason, and I don't really know the lady from Greenfield that well, but I know, and I know Scott Killebrew. So they do a great job, and I think our principal and staff, they do a great job. So that's, as those two said, that it makes for a strong education and happy students.
Happy students.
Kind of like my house, happy wife, happy life. So
that's a good one to go on.
And staff, good students.
Yeah, absolutely.
Edit that, would you?
Well, when I was thinking about being on the school board, my passion for education, for Weakley County specifically, is that no matter where you go to school in Weakley County, whether it's Westview, Dresden High School, Gleason High School, Greenfield High School, my desire from kindergarten to high school, that your dreams as a student for what you want to accomplish in life will be equipped and served by going to school here. And I think that is our responsibility as a board, to foster that reality. So no matter where you're going to school, you have the educational resources to achieve your dreams, educationally and in life. And that is going to have opportunities and challenges. And I think with the future and the vision, when I think about the school board and our system, there are a lot of challenges and perceived obstacles into the future, both locally, statewide, and nationally. And a lot of people are worried about public education. And that might be an important worry, I guess, nationally and statewide. But when people see the headlines on the news, and when you get a headline on the news, say like WPSD locally or even statewide or nationally, oftentimes that's not good news. And so we get a lot of folks in our county that get the bad news. But I appreciate what you're doing. I piggyback on what John was saying. The communication is so important. So and I know that we're a little biased here at this roundtable, but we want to make sure the good news is out there too.
Absolutely.
And I have a passion not only with educational opportunity, but educational creativity. And I think creativity, flexibility, and adaptability are going to be key moving forward. I know there's a lot to worry about in the future, but I think we're resilient enough in Weakley County for the future to adapt to those new realities. And as long as we're creative in what Weakley County public education looks like, I think we can maintain our community schooling, our local schools, and thrive in the new landscape that's coming up. So,
and I mean, we have already shown that creativity and flexibility and thrived in some of these situations. So I think that in all of these situations, I think we're going to be just fine. We're going to be good. I know we're going to be just fine.
I want to add a couple more things to that.
Absolutely.
to parents. God gave you those kids.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has got to get them up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got to make sure they do their homework. Somebody got to make sure they're dressed properly with a good attitude. That's where it starts, in my opinion. In order to have good schools, to me, you got to have good parents.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope parents hear this and make sure their kids, because if you do well in all of our schools, A, B's, maybe some C's, you'll do well in life.
Mm-hmm. Now,
if you don't care what your kids do, then don't gripe when they're somewhere else they shouldn't be. I don't know if that's proper to say, but I'm going to say it anyway.
No, I mean, I think that we also do a good job of meeting kids where they're at,
Yes.
in their situations, and
yes, absolutely.
I think that as parents, we all want our kids to do well. We all want our kids to do well.
And we're wanting to make sure parents in our county want to send their kids to our school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
That's a key.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And we have the resources to give them the help where they
Yes,
need it.
you're exactly right.
You see a gap, you let us know, and we can give you the resources that you need to help get your kids where they need to be. I think that's wonderful.
Yes.
Absolutely. And we've kind of answered this one already. But if there's anything you want to add to this, so in your opinion, what is the most important responsibility of a school board member? We've kind of touched on that a little bit, but is there anything definitive that just immediately jumps to your mind that we haven't talked about?
Mine is make sure our kids are educated well and safety.
Safety is a
Those
huge
two
one.
things. To me, they sort of go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other.
Absolutely.
We've been lucky so far here in Weakley County with our schools and our safety.
Mm-hmm.
I think just continue to promote what you have. I mean, and I think one of the biggest and shining examples of that is Sharon School. I mean, take a look with what Dr. Clements is doing over there with her staff, and you said it a minute ago, meeting our students in the middle, meeting them not in the middle, meeting them where they're at.
They are.
And that doesn't matter where they are. We're meeting them there. And
absolutely.
And Sharon, for my money, is a microcosm of kind of what our entire system is. And everybody should have to go hang out at Sharon and should go get to see what's going on there every single day. And so, and I think that's, again, it's a true representation of what our school system is, can be, and can do. And so that's the only thing I would say. Safety of our kids, obviously, but to continue to promote what we're doing and making sure everybody understands just how hard our faculty and staff is working.
Absolutely. And doing that out of the box creative thinking that we mentioned, that, not just saying no, we have to be, very rigid, very, very structured and stuff like that, and learning how those students best respond is something that all of our schools do well, and Sharon is amazing at. Do so well.
I agree.
Yes.
Good point.
I think the only other thing I would add is about the fact that I think we've all mentioned that our schools are an investment. They're an investment, and getting the most for our biggest bang for our buck, I think is very important. But we can't start scrimping on our investment. We have got to be sure that we've got the resources to be sure that all of our students receive the help and the education that they need. And I know we get a lot of
Maybe you need to repeat that again.
Well, everybody's talking about how we don't need to spend so much money on this, that, and the other. And my education background is finance, and I've 100% agree with that. But you've got to get the best bang out of our buck. We've got to make the right investment, and we can't start, cutting back on the things that pay off. People talk about, some of the COVID monies that were invested in. They really paid some very good dividends outside of COVID too. We spent a good amount of money on well-being of our students' mental health and things like that. And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, but our students today are not quite like they were 50 years ago. And there's taking a lot more to keep them up and going and meeting those kinds of needs. So we need to be sure that we're not short-sighted on how we get our money and how we use our money. And I know we have been good over the years of making the best use of the resources that we have, but we don't need to start thinking about how can we scrimp and save. We don't need to throw money. You can't throw money in a problem.
Sure.
It doesn't solve anything. But we've been very good about identifying issues that we need to address. Luckily, we've had the resources to address those. We need to be sure that we continue that flow that helps us do the right kinds of things that we need for our children. That's why we're successful. Why we're successful.
I agree. I agree. And like you mentioned earlier, education, if you live in a community, the education of that community affects you. And so making sure that the resources are there to, like you said, meet the mental health of these children and meet them where they're at, that is very important to make sure that we can get them into a place where they can learn and they're ready to learn and they're ready to be at their best.
Healthy minds learn.
Healthy minds learn, absolutely. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was going to say, in addition to that, is a lot of times we think of the school and our school system primarily in an educational framework, where we also need to think of it in terms of a social services framework. And I really think the community needs to understand, not only are we one of the bigger employers of our county, but we're also one of the largest sources of social services to our children and families. And a lot of that is not funded by the state. We're only funded for like a handful of nurses. We have nurses in every building, and for a lot of our children, they're the primary care provider for a lot of the kids that come to our schools. I'm staggered by the number of visits that they handle on a day-to-day basis. And for a lot of kids, unfortunately, the breakfast and the lunch are some of the, probably the only, or maybe close to the only meals that they're going to get during the week. And that is something super important for us to understand as a community of what we're providing for our kids. And then with COVID and the effects of that, we use some of those funds to hire mental health professionals, and they have been absolutely swamped since then. And we fought to keep those personnel after the funding went away, and we're thankful that we still have those folks as counselors, and that's going to continue to grow. These, not only the educational component, but serving the whole person and the whole student. And that's what we're really pushing with, Director Couples talking about the portrait of a graduate. That's the goal, but what does that whole person look like?
Absolutely. Moving
forward all the way to when they graduate and walk down to get their diploma.
And how they cope with things and deal with things after they graduate.
Yeah.
Instilling these coping mechanisms and behaviors into them to understand how to navigate the world is process for them.
And after school activities are wonderful for kids. If you look at, and I know Westview and I'm sure the other high schools, some of the better or the smarter of the kids are in athletics. Doesn't matter what you're in, basketball, football, theater, softball. If parents can just help those kids be active in something,
yes,
I think there's less trouble, less time on social media. So I guess you can tell I'm making parents do their jobs.
Yeah.
Well, and those activities help them to learn in ways that are not inside of the classroom.
Yeah, time management.
Time management, being coachable, which is going to relate to being employable. I mean, that is huge. That's huge for these kids. Absolutely. So y'all have blown me away today. Thank you so much for this conversation. I know that I have learned a lot, and I know that our listeners will as well. So thank you again. Thank you so much for everything that you do, the service that you give us, and for being here today. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope that you've enjoyed this behind-the-scenes look at the important work that these individuals put in to ensure our students, teachers, and staff have the resources that they need. In honor of the School Board Appreciation Month, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our school board members, Jeff Floyd, Wendell Cates, Gath Meeks, Josh Moore, John Hattler, Bo Atkins, Doug Sims, Martin Hamlin, and Steve Ventries. We are so grateful for the work that you do every single day for your districts in helping us achieve the dreams that our students have. Remember, you can catch us on demand on Google Podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Be sure to follow us to hear more about meaningful discussions that are happening on the Growing Our Future in Weakley County Schools podcast.